We're asking the penultimate question. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie today?
Die Hard is not a first-tier Christmas movie. It's not. It's A Wonderful Life. Sometimes you just want to watch Bruce Willis go after the bad guys. The point of the movie is that Mary is George Bailey's redemption. I 100% agree with that, putting our Die Hard disagreements to the side. Every Nativity, greatest story ever told, the Nativity story, Mary especially is the latest in a long litany of shows and movies that they just don't get the Nativity. And I think a lot of it has to do with the Protestant influence of not believing in the Immaculate Conception. So Christmas Carol is...
By the way, my name is Joe McClane. I host a radio program called A Catholic Take, where we look at the world through a Catholic lens. I'd love for you to hang out with us. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Father Daniel Alloy joins us to talk about what is arguably one of the most controversial questions in recent decades. And that is Die Hard actually a Christmas film? I know the definitive answer, but you never know what a priest is going to say. So let's welcome. Good morning to you, Father. Thank you for your time today. And what say you? Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Morning, Joe. It's good to see you again. Since 1988, and who are we to temper the debate with our puny little input?
Oh,
I would say though,
feels like you're taking the it's a cop out. You got to put your cards on the table.
Oh, they're coming. Thomas Aquinas says that there are things that belong to the nature of a thing per se, or of its nature, and then also secundum quid. They're kind of add-ons. So first tier, let's think of it as first tier and second tier. Die Hard is not a first tier Christmas movie. It's not. It's A Wonderful Life. It's not Miracle on 34th Street or anything like that. But it is most definitely a second tier movie, second tier Christmas movie. I think of it as kind of a palate cleanser because we watched a lot of movies growing up in the Alloy household. And if you watch, Polar Express and then Elf and then Miracle on 34th Street, it's a little heavy just to watch sentimental movie after sentimental movie. Sometimes you just want to watch Bruce Willis go after the bad guys and restore justice to the world. And the thing about that, not only is it a palate cleanser, but it's a palate cleanser specifically for Christmas. It's the entire plot of the movie takes place on Christmas Eve. And so for those of us who just want to watch the cars drive fast and the explosions and things like that, it's a good palate cleanser so that you can go back to those first tier Christmas movies. And Thanksgiving, we don't just have turkey, right? We have mashed potatoes, we have the casseroles and all of those things. We have all of those second tier things which add to the perfection of everything.
Okay. So does it change your opinion if Bruce Willis himself has come out publicly and said it is not a Christmas movie? That change your opinion?
No, it wouldn't, because I would take his opinion kind of along with, Thomas Aquinas' input. And I think you, Joe, would agree that probably Thomas Aquinas has a little bit more weight than Bruce Willis, right?
All right. Okay. You got me on that one. Hey, so far the straw poll that we're taking on YouTube says, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? 20% say yes. 63% have the correct answer, which is no. And 17% say tangentially, which is hilarious to me. But nonetheless, there we are. Okay, so, all right. I loved, by the way, the Dr. Taylor Marshall video on Die Hard recently about the Rolex watch roll. Thought that was fascinating. Very good. The symbol of the Rolex, needing to be corrected, like this role of women in the workplace and women in the family, and this dysfunctional family trying to find a way to correct their own brokenness in their marriage. I thought that was a great video. We can link to that in the show notes. But let's get into some of these other films then. Like, okay, so what are your top picks when it comes to Christmas movies? Like, what do you go to every year?
Every year, it definitely has to. Number one for me is It's a Wonderful Life. And I actually, that comes from my dad. My dad was my dad's favorite. It still is his favorite Christmas movie. I don't think either of us have ever watched it without tearing up. It's a great movie. It's a great movie about hope. The Angelology is definitely not to be recommended, but there's just so much in there. And I do love, there was a Father Rock of happy memory here in Houston, and then also now in the assistant in Nashua to Father Brancich. Father Rock pointed out to me the role, something I'd never thought about in this movie, and it's the role of Mary, the wife. And there's the scene, of course, once George Bailey, he wishes that he had never existed, and then all of that, and he goes and he finds his wife. The kind of the coup de grace is when he goes and he finds Mary, and she's just a spinster. And Father Rock pointed out, like, this is like a monstrous claim. She's this gorgeous 10 out of 10 wonderful woman. There's no way, there's not a snowball's chance that she would not have found another guy, or that the guys wouldn't have lined up to marry her. And Father Rock pointed out, like, that's not the point of the movie. Is that Mary is George Bailey's redemption. That Mary is the one who brings out the best in George, and that if George refuses to bring out the best in himself, she's just going to be like, okay, I'm here for you, but I'm not going to force you to make the right decision. And it's kind of, I see her kind of as the personification of grace, that the grace that has been given to you, that all of us receive sufficient grace, but is it going to become efficient? Well, we got to cooperate with it.
It's interesting because It's a Wonderful Life in many ways feels like The Shop Around the Corner, but better. Even though Rotten Tomatoes has The Shop Around the Corner, which was made in 1940 before the war, and It's a Wonderful Life was made in 46 after the war. Different directors, but there's a lot of the same cast in both films. It's a Wonderful Life just feels like a better version of The Shop Around the Corner. Have you seen The Shop Around the Corner?
I have not, I must admit.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's got to be on your list. It's one of our favorites too here on the Christmas season. Let me ask you this: What about like obvious films? So, It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street. People are going to name these things all the time. What about films that like what about actual nativity films? Like there was a film out recently by Netflix, which I have railed against. I think it's got a lot of very troubling issues in it that I don't recommend whatsoever. There's been other attempts. The Nativity Story is another one of these. Big budget, beautiful acting, great set, great design, terrible theology, and so it's hard for families to navigate that because the options they're given are never really great, are they?
No, I would 100% agree with that. Putting our diehard disagreements to the side, I think we can clasp arms here. That every nativity, greatest story ever told, and the Nativity Story, Mary especially, is the latest in a long litany of shows and movies that they just don't get the nativity. And I think a lot of it has to do with the Protestant influence of not believing in the Immaculate Conception, not believing in necessarily in the virgin birth. They don't get Mary. They don't, and if you get Mary wrong, if you get our Blessed Mother wrong, you're not going to get the nativity right.
Oh, so true. Now, here's a couple that I wonder if you've seen these. The Star, the story of the first Christmas, which is it's a kid's film, but it's pretty good for family, actually. They did a pretty decent job in that one. We've liked that one. And then my favorite is Mary of Nazareth, which can be found on formed.org. If you have an account with formed.org with the St. Augustine Institute, you can watch this film. And I thought they did a beautiful job, especially in the relationship with young St. Joseph, who is also a righteous man, a holy man, not just somebody remarrying or whatever. They get Joseph wrong a lot too. But I thought this film did a pretty good job with that. Have you seen either of those?
No, but I've heard great things about the latter, Mary of Nazareth. So I'll have to add that to the list as well.
Okay, so let's go back to some classics then, or some other films. What else do you watch? It's a Wonderful Life. You've mentioned that. Die Hard, we debated. What else do you have on your watch list whenever you do get time, if you get time at all?
So Miracle on 34th Street is another one. That one, I find that a little bit more sappy and sentimental. My dad loves it. As a kid, we watched it so many times. That's kind of a second level for me. Little Women is actually, it's not, again, this is not a first tier Christmas movie. It's not obviously a Christmas movie, but the old one from the 50s is amazing. It's an amazing
Wow.
book. It's an amazing story. The accompanying book, Little Men, is a coming of age story about boys, especially boys trying to grow up without a father, and navigating that chaos. It's very, very well done. Father Rock, again of happy memory, he expanded my movie horizons when he showed me Klaus, Klaus.
Sure.
And it's a hand-drawn animated movie. Now, full disclosure, I don't like anime. I don't like really animated movies, since I hit 13. But this movie really kind of, it really hit home. It hit very deep. It's a story about, it's a legend about Santa Claus. This man named Claus, he goes to this remote village in Norway, and he's the mailman, and it's a terrible town, and he's trying to redeem the town and bring a little bit of light and a little bit of grace to the town. And it's a nice kind of general friendly story. And then the last 10 minutes of the movie just hits very, very deep as far as the meaning of Christmas and kind of what we're called to do in living out the birth of Christ.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't seen Klaus. I watched a review on it just this morning, actually, and they had the same take as you did. It's just the quality of it is very good. They apparently produced that in the old school style of hand-drawn. They didn't just use computers to animate everything, but they hand-drawn all the characters. So it's got a quality to it that's timeless. They said the emotional arcs of their characters are very engaging and very good. So I'm going to have to add that to our list this year of Klaus. Now, we're coming up close to a break, so I don't want to jump into the deep end of the pool just yet and talk about A Christmas Carol. But that's going to come up after the break. What else? What other movies on your list?
Personally, just kind of sentimentally, I love Home Alone.
Really?
Home Alone is a great movie. Came out in the 90s. I love the again, a dysfunctional family leaving, well, dysfunctional kid in a family, but Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. I do really like seeing him get up to mischief and get out of mischief. It's kind of a great 90s flick.
At least you didn't say Trading Places or Gremlins. Anyone? Yeah.
Nope.
But
No.
at least we can
Crickets.
take comfort in knowing beyond the shadow of a doubt that Die Hard is definitely not a Christmas film. Did we agree? I don't know if we agreed on that or not. You didn't mention several kinds of films. You didn't mention Charlie Brown. You didn't mention The Grinch when I asked you in the last segment. Little Drummer Boy. There's so many classics that you didn't mention. What about some of those classics? And then I want to get into A Christmas Carol.
As far as The Grinch, I'm glad you asked that one. The Jim Carrey one from the early 2000s. I know some people really like it. I think it's awful. Like it's
I can't watch it.
weird. It's just, I don't know, it's creepy. And Jim Carrey is a funny slapstick guy, but he's just not the right guy for The Grinch. The new
Yes.
Grinch movie with Benedict Cumberbatch, the animated one, was excellent. Again, thank you, Father Rock, for expanding my horizons and forcing me to
Should I have
watch
invited
an
him
animated
onto
movie.
this? I feel like I should have invited him.
He actually probably would have a great take. So he is he's been my mentor for half of these Christmas. But yeah, Charlie Brown, I don't know. As a kid, when I watched it, I found I found the soundtrack kind of depressing. The early, da da dun dun, of course, that's great. But at the end of the show, when it's Christmas time is here, like I don't know, something didn't jive with me in that. So Charlie Brown has never been my favorite Christmas movie. Sorry.
No, that's quite okay. Yeah, I agree. Besides the original Grinch, which captivated my childhood, this latest one with Benedict Cumberbatch really is great. There's even Christmas hymns being sung in the film itself. Like, mind blown. That's amazing. I hadn't seen that in any other Grinch adaptation at all. So very good. Highly recommend it. Praise be to God. All right, so let's go to A Christmas Carol. Obviously, in fact, just yesterday, I sent out an email to the ACT insiders, and I included a link of a 44-part audio drama on A Christmas Carol that's very well produced by the Merry Beggars. And so that's in the email. If you're on the email list, you got that in your inbox. But what is your favorite? Do you like A Christmas Carol 1? 2, do you watch it every year? 3, what's your favorite version?
So Christmas Carol is, other than the Bible, it's the only book that I reread every single year. I just read it. Yeah, there's something about the book. The book is magical. It's 83 pages of pure inspiration and magic. The actual words penned by Charles Dickens are amazing. The best movie version, I kind of am in a minority here. And again, this one is more kind of the influence of my dad. My favorite version of A Christmas Carol is the 1950s one with Alistair Sim.
Really?
And yeah, it's not, it's got the right amount of like especially for a kid, it's terrifying in certain instances. It's got a little bit of terror for like a ghost story, but the redemption at the end just washes over you all the more because you have more of a sense of what can be lost. Like the two scenes, the scene of the knocker with Jacob Marley, when his face Jacob Marley's face shows up at the knocker at the very beginning, and Alistair Sim's reaction is terrifying if you're 5-year-old me. And then at the end, when Scrooge slowly but surely sees his tomb revealed by the ghost of Christmas yet to come, that is terrifying in the 1950s film, but the redemption that comes is just washes over you like a flood. And I'm not a huge fan of the 2012 version, the animated one. I think they went too far as far as, yeah, and again with Jim Carrey, and I got nothing against Jim Carrey, but maybe he should leave Christmas to Bruce Willis.
I don't know. It sounds to me like you loathe Jim Carrey. That's what I'm getting. I mean, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Last year, Jake,
I got to admit,
Jake, last year we debated the Christmas Carol list.
We did.
Who came out on top? Was it the Alistair Sim version?
I am a firm defender that the basically the two best by far, bar none, are Alistair Sim and George C. Scott. Those are the two best versions. And then if you want to throw in the Muppets one because it's fun and it's the Muppets one, that's like number 3. I would say those are your top 2 and then the third.
Okay, here's my favorite pick on A Christmas Carol story. And I picked up on this, I don't know how many years ago now, but several years back, I came across this film and absolutely loved it. And every year my family and I watch this version of A Christmas Carol, The Man Who Invented Christmas. It is a fantastic family-friendly film, well acted, great sets. You know, it's probably not the biggest budget in the world, but it's a great, wholesome film and a wonderful retelling of, and unique in many ways, I would argue. What's your thoughts on The Man Who Invented Christmas?
2 thumbs way up. I discovered it on accident also about 5 years ago. And actually, I introduced Father Rock to that movie. And
good for you.
Father Rock was blown away.
So good.
He actually asked to watch it the next Christmas. He said he had 4 Advent movies picked out, one of which was The Muppets Christmas Carol, which he forced me to watch. And I was like, he forced me to watch a lot of movies, I got to say. The nerve. But
the nerve.
I watched The Muppets Christmas Carol for him. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I forced him to watch The Man Who Invented Christmas. And yes, you're absolutely right. The take on Charles Dickens, his family struggles, again, his daddy issues, and dealing with a man dealing with daddy issues as a full-grown man. I really liked how they brought that out.
Let me ask you this. We're going to run out of time on the radio side here, and you have just a few minutes after to hang out with us in the after show. But what do you think about the horror genre that's come out of recent years? These Christmas-themed horror films. There's like a zombie apocalypse, and there's violent films. What do you make of those?
It's so disturbing. I was in theaters to see something. Maybe it was the Gladiator. I can't remember. But they showed a trailer for Nosferatu, which comes out on Christmas Day. It's this horrible, dark horror movie that comes out on Christmas, and I'm like, who in their right mind on the day that Jesus became man, and or that Jesus was born, why would you go watch a horror movie?
Right.
Why would you? This is the most joyful day in the history of the human race. Why are we going for kicks and scares and things like that? It's just I don't comprehend it. I do have to say there was one. I was in a sushi restaurant one time, and a waitress came up and she saw me in my cassock and she said, "Are you from The Conjuring?" And I said, "No,
Nice.
those are nuns, and also, yeah, that's not how that works and all that." But we got to talking, and she said, "I was raised by my grandma. Insert 5 minute, horror story about how she was raised." And the conclusion was, I watch horror movies because it makes me feel that I can go back to the trauma of my youth and just it's okay. And that's the way that she numbs the pain of the past. And I think that's not a healthy thing to do, especially on the day that Christ came to heal us.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Hunter Biden in a gun shop next to a crack booth. We should avoid these things like the plague.
Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.